First, thanks to our wonderful sponsors. I don't know if you just saw the news, but average U.S. household debt just hit $152,000. That's mortgages, cars, cards, student loans, but the national debt just hit $37 trillion. It's all going up. Ask yourself this: when the system hiccups, who bails you out? It's not the Fed, not the politicians, and that's why I own gold. Gold doesn't need a CEO, doesn't need missed earnings, it doesn't freeze your account on a Friday at 4:59. While they print, gold just sits there doing what it's done for thousands of years. Store value. If you're done playing musical chairs with your savings, get something real in your hand. That's why you should try our good friends Kirk Elliott Precious Metals today. Goldwithjustin.com. Kirk and the team going to walk you through what they're doing, whether you're a seasoned pro when it comes to buying precious metals or you're just getting started. Call Kirk and the team today at 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, or go to goldwithjustin.com to find out how they can help you today. No pressure, just facts and a plan. That's goldwithjustin.com. Protect what's yours with gold. Goldwithjustin.com. Do it today. When the grocery shelves go empty, you're out of time. That's the truth. Disasters hit fast. Storms, blackouts, supply chain chaos, and the first thing to vanish is food. That's why smart Americans, just like you, are stocking up now with My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithjustin.com right now to get a 3-month emergency food kit, and they'll even throw in a free 4-week food kit to boot. That's 4 whole months of meals ready to eat.
Michigan. Join the conversation now at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on Wood Radio.
Welcome in. What a day. Sun is shining and glorious. And by the way, soak it up, because this, it's not going to last. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. And I guess it's not like horrible news, but soak it up because the next couple of days we're starting to get a little bit of rain that turns into snow. Things will get much colder, and it'll be kind of around the. Well, let me just say it this way: 'tis the season, so I'm not really complaining too much because this is just how it works, right?
News, weather, and traffic.
Yep.
Stories of the day. We're talking about what matters most in West Michigan and beyond. This is the Big Three. Now, today's Big Three.
Yeah, the stories that matter most. Should be talking about these around the water cooler, the dinner table, no matter where you are. Our good friends Heartland Home Mortgage, Dave Galloway and the team, ready to help you. Whether they want to buy, refi, home equity line of credit, whatever that looks like you. No matter where you are, maybe you just have some questions you want to ask so you can start getting ready, wrapping your head around the next move you want to make. Dave and the team can help you at hhmlending.com. He's helped us, and many folks who listen to this very program save thousands.
Number 1.
Reach out today and just say thank you. They're still talking about it. President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani meeting on Friday in the Oval, and I've got some great clips from this, by the way. I gotta get to those in minutes, but they left folks kind of shocked, surprised, and flabbergasted. President Trump in the way that he handled everything. It kind of was a masterclass, and I'm going to tell you why in minutes. So important. In the meantime, speaking of flabbergasted, Senator Slotkin looked flabbergasted over the weekend as she sort of broke down and not able to defend her quote unquote, as the president called it, seditious video remarks. Her and the rest of the Democrats trying to defend those remarks, virtually unable to, by using movies. Fictional movies like A Few Good Men.
It does imply that the president is having illegal orders, which you have not seen.
I think for us, it was just a statement widely, right? We say very quickly and to all the folks who come to us, this is the process. Go to your JAG officer, ask them for explanation, for top cover, for their view on things.
This is the backing off. They're in trouble. They know this thing did not go off the way they wanted it to. And I got it. In fact, I got more of this audio I'll get to in just a moment, where she tries to defend all of this with a movie. Again, you just heard. She said there haven't been any illegal orders. We don't have to. Why make this statement? I'll tell you why. Coming up. And it has a lot to do with what we're watching play out overseas. By the way, don't forget, she's a former CIA official. Russia and the Ukraine, the peace talks underway in Geneva over the weekend, and officials meeting to work on refining that plan aimed at ending the war. Proposal reportedly includes security guarantees for Ukraine and limits on military expansion. Seems to be is favorable to Russia. Could we get a deal? Those are the questions that are being asked right now, and it looks positive. The details still yet to come. We got some audio from Rubio on this here in just a moment. Stand by. Hang on. But first, give you a chance to weigh in on anything this Thanksgiving week and the kick off to it. Talking Turkey
Call
next.
Justin now at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
All right. Normally, I don't entertain certain conversation, but Charlene just said into the chat, and I know I've been thinking of you too. And I'm somebody that has gone up and down through the years. Currently, I'm on the down slope right now, feeling really good about my health transformation. But you know, the funny thing is like, you're right. I noticed there are pictures of Slotkin, and she's slimmed down quite a bit. Now, part of the reason I think for this, and Charlene over on the Facebook messages in the chat here, Facebook, Twitter, X, Rumble, Getter, Locals, we do this behind the scenes live stream while we're on the air. We don't care where you watch or listen, just glad that you do. And if you want to join in the chat, you can there, as well as the podcast that we do, the live and archived at the iHeartRadio app or wherever you download your podcast. So if Charlie says she looks like she's on Ozempic, I am not going to comment on that. But what I will, because I can't tell you, but I know that's very prevalent right now. A lot of those drugs are. But what I will comment on is this. She is being groomed, or she is planning. It is her ambition. Let me just put it this. So part of this video that you saw, it is her ambition to run for higher office. Yes, higher than senator. She wants to be included in the next round of conversations in 28 for either vice president or president. However that shakes out. She'll probably get in the running in 28 as president, or support someone in a specific way as a Democrat to be considered. So that's part of what you're watching play out. Just remember that it's a PR campaign, but there's a lot more to it. And again, this goes back to the original video. It's the original video of the seditious Democrats who made the case again, and they've all admitted to it now, essentially, that President Trump hasn't issued any illegal orders. So why would they issue this video? Take a listen there. She's called out. I think it's Martha Raddatz on it.
It does imply that the president is having illegal orders, which you have not seen.
I think for us, it was just a statement widely, right? We say very quickly and to all the folks who come to us, this is the process. Go to your JAG officer, ask them for explanation, for top cover, for their view on things. We do that on a case-by-case basis, but we...
So here's saying again, well, this is just a wide, sort of a general video. The video is not talking about anything specific. Now, if you go back and watch the video, they're making the case that this president has put troops in harm's way in terms of issuing illegal orders, and that this is something that they should look at on a daily basis. And essentially, we got your back. If you disobey orders from this president, we got your back. And I'll tell you, there's even more of a reason why this is so dangerous here in just a second. But listen to what she said.
I wanted to speak directly to the volumes of people who had come to us on this.
And it is very clear that no one should follow an illegal order.
Well, they know that. By the way, anybody in the military knows this. This is nothing new. The fact that Congress is coming out and making the point, though, is separate and should be distinct from what they understand in their training, the things that they go through since they want it basic.
But it's very murky when you look at what is an illegal order. And if you go into morally, ethically, that's a pretty tough thing to look at and say, how do I navigate this?
Look, if you're going back to Nuremberg, right, that, well, they told me to do it, that's why I murdered people, is not an excuse. If you look at...
Now we're at a Nazi. Think about this. Now we're at a Nazi symbolism again, because we got to mention Nuremberg as if Trump or anything that we have that's happening right now, that disparages Trump, but also the military itself, that he might be giving out some sort of, because they talk about it all the time. This guy's a fascist. This is, again, those dog whistles.
Popular culture, there's you watch, A Few Good Men. We have plenty of examples since we're...
It's called propaganda. Just look at pop culture. Just look at the propaganda, see? So she's proving her argument based on her narrative, not based on facts. See? I believe this, so it must be true. It's circular logic. And, she is CIA. So I tell you that this whole thing, it stinks to high heaven. And there ought to be accountability to it. And I'll tell you why in just a second this is even more dangerous. There's a bigger reason for this. Let her wrap up here.
World War II, in Vietnam, where people were told to follow illegal orders, and they did it, and they were prosecuted for it. So
now she's threatening the military. We've got your back, though, because here's the thing. When we get back in there, we're going to hold all of you accountable. So you better not follow those orders of President Trump. Says that's what she said. We're putting the gauntlet down right now. We need loyalty.
The best thing for people to do is go to their JAG officer, their local law enforcement or a legal officer in their unit, and ask for some explanation, ask for help. And that's what we've been advising people to do. Yeah,
this did need a PR campaign. This is Sunday, and it's a PR campaign. Give you another reason why. This was Sunday on ABC this week. The timing. You get through the shutdown, and they said during the entire shutdown, Democrats said, well, he doesn't want to open the government because he doesn't want this vote on Epstein. Then all of a sudden, Trump says, just release the files. It's okay. Now they got the vote, and the file's supposed to be released, but who knows what we'll see and when we'll see it. And it was dropped right at that moment. It's obvious. It's no secret what they're attempting to do and what it's coming on. Now, I'll tell you why it's dangerous. This is the worst part. Because I don't really expect a lot of folks in the military to listen. There might be one or two, and that would be bad enough, but folks that are somehow been indoctrinated or somehow put out, it's sort of brainwashed, right? There might be a few of those, right? But the bigger picture, and Glenn Beck makes this, actually. This is the bigger point. He makes this point over on X, I think it was last night. Now, let me read to you exactly what he says and why this is such a big deal. Democrats just told our military not to follow unconstitutional orders, quote unquote. He said, while admitting none exist. Why is this a big deal? They knew and know that the messages they were sending weren't for our soldiers. It was for the global leadership. If a video like this were aimed at Putin's military, we'd assume Russia was unstable or nearing a coup. These are sitting members of Congress, folks, essentially telling the military they do not have to follow the orders of the president. They didn't give good advice, he says, nor weaken Trump. They weakened America, signaling doubt to allies and opportunity to enemies. Beck goes on to say they are tilling the soil for color revolution. Reckless beyond words. Not treason, but a very serious crime. In fact, over the weekend, he made the point of that crime. The president picked it up, re-shared it over on Truth. 18 U.S.C. 2387, a law written for this exact kind of action. Punishment is 10 years in prison. Those on either side who engage in this must pay a price, or it will only get worse, Beck said. And I agree. There has to be accountability for these actions. These people knew exactly what they were doing, and they have put us in the president, in a very sticky situation. And you're kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't, both sides. Because if these folks are found to have broken the law and charges are brought, then the Democrats will say, look, he'll stop at nothing. He's arresting us for freedom of speech. And if you do nothing, then they've got the clear signal that it's okay to continue. But worse. And so it's sort of a pickle here. But wait, there's more, right? We'll get into all of that and more after this. Because we still have the video from Mom Donnie in the Oval Office, which was a treat in itself. You won't want to miss that. By the way, over the weekend, Michigan State Police bomb squad called out to Slotkin's farm, where thank goodness she doesn't live. In fact, she's mostly been a swamp creature throughout her entire political life. But it was hard to find a news outlet that didn't print the headline that the bomb squad was called out to her farm there only after President Trump's comments, not the fact that she put the entire country at risk. Well, that didn't shake out very well. All right, more after this. Back next, but first, if you're able, please join us and ride.
Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Here are your headlines from the Midwesterner this Monday, November 24th. I'm Robin Hoffman. It's a Midwesterner.news original story. Companies attempting to build huge data centers here in Michigan running into huge opposition. Michigan residents don't want these projects in their neighborhoods and are busy fighting back. Complete coverage on this very hot topic at the Midwesterner.news. In other news, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel threatening the chain store Five Below with legal action for allegedly charging $6 or $7 for some items instead of $5. There are 63 locations here in Michigan. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio continuing to push President Trump's agenda to end Russia's war in Ukraine. Trump has said he wants President Zelensky to agree to the terms by Thanksgiving.
Whether it's Thursday, whether it's Friday, whether it's Wednesday, whether it's Monday of the following week, we want it to be soon because people are going to, between today and the time we deal with this, more people are going to die.
For these stories and more, visit the Midwesterner at themidwesterner.news.
Woke radical liberals are screwing up this country, but Congressman John...
All right, folks. folks. Behind the scenes live stream rolling strong today. Appreciate you all being here with us on the VIP Patriot Dean. Good to see you, Hemi. Thank you, Greta. Appreciate you, Terry. 11-point buck. That's your son? Holy cow. Sharon, that's a beaut. That is a beaut. Wait a minute. Yeah, that was Sharon's son, looks like. But never any accountability. I don't know what you're talking about. Michigan, I know what you mean, by the way. Michigan Joe, thank you for being here with us today. Gritter, Panda. Mundo is hunting as we speak. He may be in and out of the stand and into the house. Pando Salisu, good to see you today. Carol, good to see you as well. Lou, thank you so much for being here with us. You guys always a pleasure and a privilege, an honor. IPV, such a time as this. SJ, Ginger, Jen Lynn, thank you. Appreciate you guys on the book. Facebookers hanging out with us. Jessica says televised military tribunals is what his name. I'd love to see it. Doug, good to see you. Lori, good to see you. James, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys as always. All right, back on the air in just a moment. Here we go. Hey, like I said Friday, what would it be like to be a fly on the wall during that meeting? Trump and Mom Donnie on Friday. It was a masterclass of how to essentially disarm somebody in a political situation. That they expected there to be sparks flying. I think everybody kind of did, but Trump disarmed Mom Donnie in ways that with the charm that I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. Listen to this. What happened?
He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier than explaining it.
That's okay. You can just say yes. He laughs, chuckles, and sort of takes the wind, the air right out of the sails. Now, Mom Donnie has to go back to New York City. And he has to say, well, why the answer to all those folks say, why didn't you give him the business? You know? And so now here's the interesting thing. And this is when they say Trump's playing 3D chess or whatever this is. This is what they mean is that they just don't, nobody sees this coming. At the end of the day, the guy disarms them completely because, you know, he makes him sort of chuckle. They all laugh together. They look great, having a good time in there. And Trump says, look, I'm going to support you. I want New York City to thrive. I want it to be, it's my home, he says, you know. And so if these socialist policies fail, it won't be blamed on Trump. No. Mom Donnie had to own all of that. Whether you will or not, a whole nother story. All right. Back with more in minutes. Got to check our news. Bottom of the hour, and we'll do that. Plus, the market's set to open up this morning. Lots of green on the screen for the futures. If you're looking at retirement, whether it's today, tomorrow, 10, 20 years down the road, the folks can help you right now at Talon Wealth. Mike Lester and the team, boy, oh boy. If you're looking for, whether, like I said, you want to make sure you're running this roller coaster ride without feeling nauseous, guardingyournestegg.com is the first step. Reach out to Mike and the team at 616-661-1000. That's 661-1000 or line at guardingyournestegg.com to get the expertise customized just for you. All right, folks. Rolling right along on the behind the scenes live stream. Thank you so much for being here with us. There's other things that we got a chance to talk. Maybe I think we can get into this. When is maybe the after show? I might be able to talk a little bit about it early on. But I also wanted to show you this because I thought this was kind of interesting today too. There was sort of a big story over the weekend. Didn't make it as part of the big three because it's so big. It kind of needs some time to walk it through. But Minnesota Mayor Aid Abdi Nur Salah pleads guilty to wire fraud and money laundering. He created a fake NGO, started funneling taxpayer money into it. Donations made to Ilhan Omar, and that's not all. Minnesota scandal now has duffel bags full of cash, Lamborghinis, kickbacks, and trips. Al-Shabaab, military groups, terrorist military groups, right? Stolen funds from these Minnesota schemes, estimated the billions were funneled via informal Hawala networks to Somalia, where Al-Shabaab extorts fees, controlling key territories. Federal sources confirm millions reach the Al-Qaeda affiliate. What were they doing? This guy does a pretty good video of this. We'll try and get to as much of it as we can. But essentially, they were taking federal money, and they were saying for used to help kids with autism, let's say, I think is what the program was. They were claiming that their children had autism. They were taking that money and then funneling it back. I mean, talking thousands of dollars. At some rate, I think it ends up being in the millions into some of these groups in Somalia. And it is a massive story that kind of shows you what is just a sort of maybe the tip of the iceberg on the waste, fraud, and abuse. All right, let's check our line real quickly here. Former Congressman Mike Rogers running for Senate here in Michigan, joining us now. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, you look good. You sound good. We're not quite live on the air yet. We got a couple of minutes before we're back, but we want to just make sure we test the line. And
perfect. How are you?
You
look good yourself, sir.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure we have whatever shall we talk about today,
Hardly anything going on.
No shortage of topics. So we're going to talk to you coming up here in a little bit. I want to get your reaction to all of this mess with Senator Slotkin and the rest of it, and some of the other big news that we have, news of the day, all on the way. So probably 2-3 minutes left, and we'll be back.
Awesome. You getting ready for Thanksgiving?
Oh man, I am ready. I was gonna get a little bit of a short week. I got Thursday off. I'm doing Glenn Beck on Friday.
Oh, nice.
So we'll do that, and then just kind of rest over the weekend probably. But yeah, I get a little turkey. How about you?
Oh man, it's my favorite holiday. I really love it. Getting family together, our son and daughter, and we're all going to be in the same spot, and my wife's family, and it'll be great. Looking forward.
I love it. Well, I saw a meme that said, no politics at Thanksgiving was the rule. And then someone said, except I brought this, and it was a bunch of Trump wine. And I thought that was funny. Gotta have fun every now and then. Thank you, sir. Hang on. We're going to bring you back on here in just a second.
Sounds good. Thanks, Justin.
All right. Stand by, folks. Like I said, probably about 2 minutes here until we're back on the air. Let me play a little bit of this clip for you from this guy that breaks it down. I'm not going to be able to get to all of it, but we'll play a little bit for you, and then we'll get to more during the after show. Make sure I got this on the stack today a little bit later on, too.
So there's this basically huge fraud scheme that's unraveling in Minnesota. So it turns out that Minnesota has this program called the Housing Stabilization Services Program. And of course, Minnesota is home to this guy, Tim Walz, which of course puts the whole story on Donald Trump's radar. So now we have this breaking news that Trump is terminating the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. So the backstory here is that Minnesota went on a mission to create their own huge welfare system, and they did. And they basically kept expanding their own state level House and Human Services Department. And for a state, honestly, it's pretty big. It grew from $15 billion in 2022 to $23 billion in this next fiscal year. And basically 42% of all new spending goes to this welfare system that they're setting up. And most of it goes to this Housing Stabilization Services Program, which became this whole snowball of fraud, which got even more attention because it turns out a lot of the money ended up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, which is a group that we are currently fighting against in Somalia. And the thing with this HSS program is that they designed it in Minnesota as an honor system, which I gather means that you could basically go and spend the money first and then get reimbursed by the state. And the logic here was that if you needed housing, then you should basically be able to go and just pay for it without getting approval of anything and then charge it back. Turns out that was catastrophic. So you have like some defendants, these people that called themselves brilliant minds.
Hang on, we'll get back into more of this in a little bit later. Just wanted to give you a preview of what's in store. Hang on.
That one little app does all the rest. Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance. Hey, it's Glenn Beck, and you're listening to West Michigan Live with our good friend Justin Barclay. The Glenn Beck program coming up at 10 on Wood Radio.
Coming up this weekend, actually into the weekend on Friday, filling in for Glenn nationwide on the Glenn Beck program. So make sure you join us for what I like to call not Black Friday, but Beck Friday. We'll have a great time right here from West Michigan to across the country. Well, let's start with this. The video that they've been talking about since it dropped, the timing, no coincidence. But those folks in Congress are very own Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
This guy may be the worst.
You must refuse illegal orders.
You know, I just want to start, by the way, this conversation from where Congressman Mike Rogers on with us. He's running for Senate. I want to start this conversation with a reminder to folks. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. That Alyssa Slotkin would not be the senator today making those statements had we gone out, gotten together, united, and elected Mike Rogers as our senator. We wouldn't even be here in this situation. Why do I want to remind people? Elections have consequences. There is no time to sit it out and looking for a perfect candidate, etc. That's just not going to ever happen. It does not exist. We're not going to agree with everyone on everything. And in the meantime, what we get is someone who is deliberately putting the country at risk. Glenn said in a statement, and I completely, wholeheartedly agree with this, is that what it did, and I want to find out, Congressman, how you think about this, but he said, what it really did is it put the world on notice that America is weak, that they have an opportunity to come in. There may be a coup. If something like this happened under Putin's Russia, that we would be thinking maybe there was a coup underway. What are your thoughts when you saw this video? I mean, I can imagine. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what was your take on it? Welcome in.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. And I was a military officer. I served in the United States Army. I was an ordnance guy assigned to the 7th Infantry Division in Fort Ord, California. This is encouraging insubordination at the very best. It's dangerous. It's reckless. And you notice it doesn't say, what particular illegal order they're talking about. They're just talking about in general. What you're doing is interjecting confusion within the ranks of the United States military, and the integrity of those units when you do something as inane as this. And they all should know better. I think they knew exactly what they were doing, and it would create confusion. Uh, Again, I think it's insubordination or suborning insubordination in the United States military at the very least. And think of this, in the modern age, when you get this kind of confusion interjected across the United States military, which, by the way, puts soldiers at risk and Marines and sailors and airmen all over the world, their families, I think it jeopardizes the security of the United States. You talked about the Russians. You know what? The Russians love misinformation and disinformation campaigns. You don't think they're taking that and talking to military personnel and filling the country? Of course they are. They are absolutely going to use this to encourage, they hope, insubordination in the United States military. I think this was maybe one of the worst things I've seen in a very long time by a group of people who should know better than to do this and put confusion in the ranks of the military. It's wrong and dangerous, irresponsible. I mean, I don't know how many other adjectives I can come up with.
This was clearly planned. I mean, the timing of it was like almost like a PR piece, propaganda, really, the way they rolled it out right after the Epstein files vote. This was supposed to be the next thing that we're supposed to be talking about over Turkey at Thanksgiving. And he's done the illegal orders, and he's got to be stopped, and that's what the whole point of this was. Now, Glenn Beck wrote this, and he shared it over the weekend. The president shared it too. He said the law that President Trump is looking for is 18 USC 2387, and he goes on to say activities affecting armed forces general. This statute makes it a federal crime to do any of the following with the intent to interfere with U.S. military operations. Advise, urge, or attempt to cause insubordination. This is what you just discussed. Disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty among members of the U.S. military. Secondly, obstruct or attempt to obstruct recruiting, enlistment, or general military operations. Or third, distribute written materials advocating any of the above. This law does not require advocating the overthrow of the government. That's a different section, he said, but specifically undermined. By the way, the penalty, I think I read on this, was 10 years. So what needs to happen next here? Because this to me, you're kind of in a pickle. You got to take it seriously, because if you don't, they'll continue, and the Overton window will open further and further, and they'll do more and more of this. But anything that you do, knowing anything that you do, will then lead to them saying, look, see, I told you he's a fascist, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. It's a really fine line here, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And when you say you must disobey orders, now you have every private first class doubting the platoon sergeant. That's why this insubordination piece in that law is so important. And by the way, that law was created right, I think it was right at the end, or maybe right at I think it was last year, right at the end of World War II. Why? Because people who were, these other countries were saying, hey, if you're of German descent, you shouldn't be fighting. Hey, if you're of Japanese descent, you shouldn't be fighting on behalf of the Americans. It was purposely designed to cause troubles and chaos and insubordination among the ranks. So they came up with this law that says, thou shalt not do that. Because that's how you get people hurt. That's how you get people killed. That's how you take the finest fighting force and break it up and make it much, much, much weaker. And so, yes, I think they should set their partisanship aside. And this was hyper partisanship. Now they're trying to confuse the United States military with their hyper partisanship. They ought to step back. They ought to do a clarification video. They ought to apologize for it at the very least and say, this is not what we were talking about. We think you should stand up for your units, follow your orders of your seniors, and get your mission done. And we hope and thank you for your service, by the way. That's what they should do. I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're probably going to double down. I already see that Slotkin's doubling down, saying, no, this is all about Trump. No, this was your decision. It was a horrific decision. It's a dangerous decision. And every parent of a military soldier, sailor, Marine ought to be really honked off right now that they're trying to sow confusion with either the people that work for them or their seniors in the United States military. Really dangerous stuff.
It's going to get somebody killed. I mean, that's just the bottom line on this, and God forbid, but that's where this type of thing goes, and we can't ever allow this to take a hold, because it's just a slippery slope is the name of it altogether. Now, you did say, and she did sort of back off. So President Trump, this is ABC this weekend. No, he hasn't issued these orders yet. They can't name them. And then she went on to defend it using A Few Good Men as her reference for a movie, as a reference for this. It's unthinkable. And unfortunately, in this, hyper politicized age, Democrats will stop at nothing. But I think that goes just really to prove the point of the race of what you're facing here in Michigan. Slotkin tried to really run as a very sort of reasonable, middle of the road sort of candidate, and the folks that you're up against this time, boy, they're anything but. I mean, so if you think she's bad, just wait till you see what these individuals would do.
Well, and remember, ran on, hey, I was going to go back and I'm going to work with Trump and I get along with everybody. I worked for both Republicans and Democrats when she was a CIA analyst, apparently. And so when you look at all of that, it was all a sham. And I'll tell you why this is important, and people need to understand this. She hasn't done any of that, by the way. She hasn't worked with him. She's poked the president every chance. Michigan has some unique needs and some unique opportunities that we ought to be taking advantage of. And if we had a Democrat or a senator that could actually work with the president of the United States, imagine what good things could happen for our state, number one. But when you think about the fact that all three of the Democrat opponents in the primary right now, they're all trying to they're going to the left as crazy as they can, but then they'll put out statements, but I'm the only moderate one in the Democrat race. They're all going to try to track back and try to convince you that they're moderates. This is even Abdul El-Sayed is going back and deleting all of his former texts about defund the police and let criminals out of jail. By the way, they all support these positions. And so they're not going to tell you the truth come this election cycle. That's why this race is so equally as important. And if we want to get those things done, we want to legislate those executive orders so that the Democrats can't get in and undo these things willy-nilly. That's why this election is so important. Yep, you sent Donald Trump there, which is great. I think that was the most important election of my lifetime. But now we have to get ready for what happens next. He'll be there for 2 years after I'm elected to the United States Senate. Let's get some great things done for the state of Michigan, and let's get the country ready to build up some firewalls here to this really radical left-wing crazy thought that they want to bring into politics all across the country, including what, the government running your grocery stores, eliminating private health insurance. I mean, these folks are exactly who you think they are, but they're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you something very, very different. And you saw that with Senator Slotkin. Said she was going to be moderate, said she's going to work with the president. She hasn't done any of that.
Let's get to some good news. Congressman Mike Rogers, I'm sure you'd love to talk about some good things as well. Running for Senate here in Michigan. It's Thanksgiving week. We were just talking about this and plans for Thanksgiving off the air, but look at this. This is from NBC News now, folks. Thanksgiving dinner is historically affordable this year. And I looked at the turkey prices, and it's, I think, some of the lowest we've seen, aside from the COVID year 2020, that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain parts of the country, prices are coming down. I think Walmart announced it was a pretty significant reduction. They sell turkey dinners, was a pretty significant reduction. Gas prices are down, egg prices are down. And so what's happening, it takes time, and we all need to be a little bit patient. For 4 years, the Biden inflation policy, and Democrats helped them get along with that, were devastating. And they've raised prices so significantly that it's going to take a while to nip away at that. And so what's happening with, I think, good economic policy, with reshoring efforts here in the state, which means we're going to have more higher paying jobs here in the state, which is, a great opportunity here. Gas prices are going to be down. That's important for everything we touch, because it all gets delivered by fuel. Farmers have to use fuel to take crops out of the field. I mean, it all has a reductionary impact on the cost of goods and services. It's just going to take some time to knock down that Biden inflation that absolutely took the breath out of all of us and certainly knocked our wallets out of our hands. It's starting to come back. I think the president's policies are working, and we just have to give them a little latitude. But Thanksgiving dinner's down. They're coming out with some new housing things that I think is going to make housing a little more affordable coming out. That hasn't hit yet, but I know that's coming. They're going to try to fix this horrific Democrat healthcare plan that they gave you. So those prices have gone nothing but up since the Democrats told you you could keep your doctor, and by the way, your health insurance would go down. That's been exactly the opposite of that. And so now the Republicans are saying we've got a plan to help fix that, to actually put prices or pressure on prices. So I think there's a lot of good news. And don't forget, no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. That's coming the first quarter of next year. And so there is good news on the horizon. We hang in there, celebrate family, say a few prayers. I tell you what, we're going to be in really good shape going into next year, economically, personally, our personal economics. And we're going to have, I believe, more job opportunities at a higher pay across the state of Michigan by bringing these reshoring manufacturing backs, the tariffs that the president has put on. I talked to a guy the other day, Justin, put on a second shift for the first time in 25 years. Another guy on the east side of the state added 30 jobs to his small manufacturing plant. General Motors announces $4 billion of investment in the state, all because they're reshoring back to the United States and back to Michigan, where it should have been in the first place. We shouldn't have sent these jobs to China. And so we're finally telling China, we're done playing your game. We're done sending our jobs and our middle class to Beijing. We're not doing that anymore. This is a good day for America. It's a good day for Michigan. And I think we're all going to benefit this going into next year.
Former Congressman Mike Rogers running for Senate this year. And again, showing how important it is to get the job done. Let President Trump get to work and make sure all the things that he's been doing, let's make sure we continue down that road and send him a little bit of reinforcement there as well. Online, the website, where can folks find you, catch up, and maybe see you throughout the state?
Yeah, rogersforsenate.com, ROGERSFOR. They have your listeners engage. Come on the site. If you have a couple of nickels in the couch cushion, send those along. We certainly need it. The Democrats are pouring money in this state. This is the opportunity to make a change that will have a generational impact on conservative values. And, my dad used to say, Justin, you either send somebody to Washington, D.C., or Washington, D.C. will send somebody for you. This is our chance to send somebody to Washington, D.C. that grew up here. My whole life is here. That has Michigan values and that are going to go to Washington, represent our values there.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time, and a little bit of good news there as well from Congressman Mike Rogers. Thank you, sir, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Blessing to all of you.
You too. God bless. More in just minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. This is kind of a cool story. It's coming from right here in our own backyard. That Christmas tree that'll sit in the White House. Talk about its trip there, and maybe some of those news you haven't heard right after this.
Breaking down the story. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Here are your headlines from the Midwesterner this Monday, November 24th. I'm Robin Hoffman. It's a Midwesterner.news original story. Folks here in Michigan fighting back and winning. Corporations attempting to build huge data centers here in Michigan running into huge roadblocks. Michigan residents don't want these projects in their neighborhoods, so they're showing up at meetings in big numbers. Plans for one project already scrapped, another in Howell Township put on hold for 6 months. Complete coverage on this topic at the Midwesterner.news. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel tries for a third time to force the Ottawa County coal plant to shut down. The facility was ordered by the U.S. Department of Energy to remain in operation until February. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio trying to get Russia and Ukraine to agree to the new 28-point plan to end the war, which started under President Biden.
The deadline is we want to get this done as soon as possible. Obviously, We would love it to be Thursday. We have made substantial progress.
For these stories and more, visit The Midwesterner at themidwesterner.news.
It's the biggest savings event of the year. Menards, 11% rebate ends Thanksgiving Day. Save big money on everything you need.
All right, there we have it. The fastest hour on radio flying by. Flying by. All right, folks, trying to catch up with the comments here. Let me start with our Freedom Fam, the VIP over on Locals. By the way, if you haven't joined yet, big Black Friday special headed your way in. Well, I guess I'll probably make it public here in the next couple of days. I sent sort of a hint about this out on the email, by the way. If you haven't signed up, make sure you do justinbarclay.com. Get the good news. Adeline, what about when Biden administration made all of our military take the COVID vaccine and get kicked out? Now, that's saying you don't have to follow orders there. So, but that's a great point. That's a great point. I've seen people making that online. The whole, don't have to follow illegal orders crowd, these Democrats now, where were they? Where were they during COVID? I mean, just sort of eerily silent, weren't they? They didn't really, they didn't have much to say then, did they? Folks, we are back on the air here in just moments. Let me share this for you. I want you to be able to see this video. Let me get it up here. All right. About 30 seconds left, and we're back on the air. Don't forget the after show is coming up in just moments. Never a dull moment, never enough time for all of it, but we'll make sure that we get it to you in just moments. Heaping helping seconds. Leftovers, right? That's right. Stand by, folks. Here we go.
Details at puretalk.com.
Set Wood Radio is a preset now on our iHeartRadio app. Powered by Michigan Auto Law. Auto accident attorneys. Visit autolaw.com.
That's autolaw.com.
The tree is on its way to the White House Blue Room, fulfilling a tradition that dates back decades. And this year's tree is from right here in Michigan. The 25-foot concolor fir is from Corson's Tree Farm in Sidney Township. The National Christmas Tree Association has held a contest for the prestigious post in the White House since 1966. Farm owner Rex Corson says this tree was picked in part due to its dark green color.
We're very honored and very proud to be able to represent the real Christmas tree industry, and this is the 6th time that we've competed. So we've had, in 2015, we had the Reserve Grand Champion tree. So we presented a tree that went to the Vice President.
Christmas trees have been featured in the White House since 1889.
Beautiful tree, by the way. I can't wait to see it all decorated up. And the pride of Michigan right here. Another great story. Got more on the way. Never enough time to get to it all here during the full show. The fastest hour on radio flies by each and every time. That's why we do the after show. You can listen live or archive the iHeartRadio app or wherever you download your podcast. JustinBarclay.com. Make it a great one, folks. God bless.
Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. God is the kingdom, our glory forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
WOOD Grand Rapids. WOOD FM Muskegon. The news is next on Wood Radio.
An iHeart radio station.
Guaranteed human.
It's the biggest savings event.
Now that's new. I've not heard that before. Guaranteed human. What does that mean? I like it, I think. So that means we're not AI? Like I'm not AI? What'd we tell you if I was? That's a good question. How long do you think it will be before the New York tree is destroyed? Oh goodness. I hope it's not. Let's get this show on the road. The after show. The show after the show, folks. Stand by. Here we go. Get ready to strap in. It's going to be a heck of a ride. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Never a dull moment, but yes, you'll hear the stories you won't hear anywhere else, and we appreciate you being here with us for them today. I'm Justin Barclay. Now, welcome into the after show. It's a show after the show. Never a dull moment, never enough time to break it all down for you. We're going to do our best. In fact, today we got that scandal, that fraud that's happening, been uncovered and unveiled in Minnesota, home of Governor Walz. So what really happened? What's really going on? And it is something, folks. The money they were sending to terrorist organizations, taxpayer dollars, your money, being funneled off into terrorist organizations, unthinkable. And it's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to all the craziness. Got to remember, they're just now getting caught because of the work that Doge did and some of these other things that have gone on behind the scenes. Speaking of which, I've got an update on Doge. Give you the full story. Today, the busiest travel day of the year, they say, and the nicest day of the week here in West Michigan. We'll take it. It's beautiful. Sun is shining. I think we're getting up to 51 for the high, they say. Yep, then the temperatures drop. Kind of like the numbers on the scale for me lately. If you haven't done it yet, check out healthwithjustin.com. They're running Black Friday special right now. In fact, a Black Friday special where you can get the deepest discount of the entire year on the new plan. I'm already down, I'm over 20 some odd pounds. I think I've got another big milestone to announce. It may come this week, although that's depending on how much turkey I get into. You can have turkey on the plan. You're eating real food. That's probably the best part about this. You're eating real food. Everything you're doing is all natural. You're avoiding all those shots and the things that are having all the people are having all the issues with. It's just wild to see. And by the way, if you want to know more, again, you can follow along. Folks that are in this just like me and the challenge to make America healthy again are good friends. You can see my results from the first time around. Incredible. And in that second phase now. And of course, in the next beginning of the year, I'm going to get into another phase. I'd love for you to join me. And if you want to, you can lock in your Good Friday prices. Lowest of the entire year. Lowest price of the entire year. And get started after the beginning of the year. So you don't have to get started now. You're thinking, I don't want to miss out on Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. Yeah, that's right. Call Missy and the crew today or reach out at healthwithjustin.com and they will walk you through what we're doing and the results we're getting. Like my good friend Trucker Randy from up north, Steve Gruber. We've been doing this and we feel better. Just look at him. I think he lost 90 pounds. That's incredible. Hats off to him. Anyway, the Black Friday special is happening now. Healthwithjustin.com. That's healthwithjustin.com. Make sure you log in, check that out, and find out what it is that we've been doing and why we love it. No crazy exercises or, fake food or anything like that to eat. It's all real, natural stuff. All right, here's the fraud caught in real time in Minnesota. And I got a little bit of this video we played earlier, but I want to make sure people will hear it for the after show here. And I'll put it up on the stack later, too, at justinbarclay.com.
So there's this basically huge fraud scheme that's unraveling in Minnesota. So it turns out that Minnesota has this program called the Housing Stabilization Services Program. And of course, Minnesota is home to this guy, Tim Walz, which of course puts the whole story on Donald Trump's radar. So now we have this breaking news that Trump is terminating the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. So the backstory here is that Minnesota went on a mission to create their own huge welfare system, and they did, and they basically kept expanding their own state-level House and Human Services Department. And for a state, honestly, it's pretty big. It grew from $15 billion in 2022 to $23 billion in this next fiscal year, and basically 42% of all new spending goes to this welfare system that they're setting up. And most of it goes to this Housing Stabilization Services Program, which became this whole snowball of fraud, which got even more attention because it turns out a lot of the money ended up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, which is a group that we are currently fighting against in Somalia. And the thing with this HSS program is that they designed it in Minnesota as an honor system, which I gather means that you could basically go and spend the money first and then get reimbursed by the state.
Think about this, an honor system. So in other words, they just say, yeah, we'll take your word for it. This scam, and you're going to see how much it is, ends up racking up millions of dollars. Incredible.
And the logic here was that if you needed housing, then you should basically be able to go and just pay for it without getting approval of anything and then charge it back. Turns out that was catastrophic. So you have like some defendants, these people that called themselves brilliant minds, they defrauded the government of about $2.3 million. You have this other one called Liberty Plus Housing Consulting, where the owner was driving a Mercedes and telling his employees to bill as much as they could. Looks like they got about $1.2 million in fraudulent Medicaid funds. So then the state did this emergency executive order where they're terminating the program. But that just kicked off this whole other investigation, which honestly was crazy because then it gets into autism, where basically people start looking into the number of autism service providers in the state, and it turns out that they've increased by 700% over the past 5 years, going from 41 providers to 328, a 3,000%.
Listen to this. This is where the real scams started coming in, and you're going to hear numbers that are going to just floor you.
Increase in billing to $192 million.
So they had a 3,000% increase, folks. That's a lot of autism. It's not real.
So basically, it seems like Minnesota was doing so much in terms of setting up these fraudulent autism centers that it was actually driving the autism statistics for the nation higher. And then it turns out that Al-Shabaab is getting a bunch of taxpayer money. And then it gets into people investigating this organization called Feeding Our Future that was getting more taxpayer money. And one of the things that set that investigation off is that this person who was also defrauding the autism program got $14 million and bought real estate in Kenya with this money. But then it starts to tie into these high-profile Minnesota politicians like the mayor. So it turns out that the mayor's aide actually pleads guilty in a $250 million scheme to defraud taxpayers, and it looks like maybe some of the money was making it to the mayor. So now the mayor is going to have to testify in court. And then Ilhan Omer gets involved because her deputy district director was at the party for one of the ringleaders of this fraud ring, and they were making donations to Ilhan Omer.
So just then, I'm not going to play, like I said, the whole thing. It's like 7 minutes. I'm going to play the whole thing. But I just wanted just to set this up for you to see this so that you can understand what actually ended up happening. So he took away this protective, it's a protective status for Somalis in that area, and he's taken it away. He issued this This order, was it this weekend? President Trump just announced he's terminating temporary protect status for all Somalians in Minnesota. This is it. Here's the announcement. Okay. From Truth Social, so you can actually see what he says. Minnesota, under Governor Walz, is a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity. I am, as President of the United States, hereby terminating, effective immediately, the temporary protected status program for Somalis in Minnesota. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of the great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from. It's over. President DJT. This is massive news. And like I said, I just get a chance to get to it during the after show. Didn't get to really get through it all earlier. But man, oh man, isn't that I think it's because this is how you remember, this is why they started melting down Doge and USAID, and this is how lack of a better word, this is how the sausage is made. This is how they do what they've been doing. This is how they've gotten away with it for so many years. In fact, Rep. Tim Burchett was with, and Trump actually retweeted, reposted, retrumped it, retruthed it, whatever you call it. He shared this one out the other day, too, with Benny Johnson, Tim Burchett, congressman from Tennessee, said the Biden administration sold pardons and that NGO money is funneled back to politicians. So this is what really, think about this. Afghanistan, there were a lot of different places where a lot of these guys got away with this stuff. They never should have. They should have been complete. All of this should have been nipped in the bud. And maybe some of it's still happening. I don't know, but the end of USAID is huge. But this is what's going on behind the scenes, and why they're so mad when they say there's a threat to democracy. It's a threat to their scheme.
Almost 1,000 NGOs, non-government organizations working out of Afghanistan. I had Marco Rubio in committee, and I asked him, "We're giving the Taliban 40 million. This is just an example. 40 million a week." 2 years I've been working on this. I got a freaking memo from the dadgum State Department, and they're no friends of mine. They're no friends of this country. That's the deep state. There ever was one. They've told us that we've given them close to $5 billion, and we're still doing it because it goes to the NGOs. The Democrats fought that amendment that we added NGOs into the bill. Why? Because there's 1,000 NGOs, and you know good and well that money's coming right back to Washington. That's what Elon told us. The paper trail runs right back. Now, can I find it? No, I don't have access to those kind of computers, but that's why they're squealing. They're squealing about it.
So squealing about USAID cuts, you're saying that our suspicions are confirmed that the money that's spent at USAID goes right back into Democrat campaign coffers.
Almost 100%. Almost 100%. There's still some Republicans, I think, if they are, that's why leadership, they sent somebody to see me. They sent my buddy, and he sits beside me.
Dadgummit.
And man, some of the chairmen are kind of upset what you said, and go through all this stuff. And I said, but it's the truth, right? He goes, well, yeah, we know it's the truth, but you just can't keep saying it. And I keep saying it. So that's why I always tell people I'm not suicidal.
You made a lot of news on our show saying that you believe that there could have been some real payola with some of these Biden
Have
pardons.
To be 8,000 pardons. I said 2,000, and it's come out. Somebody said something
8,000.
8,000 freaking pardons. You think Joe couldn't remember what he'd had for breakfast? He couldn't remember where the dadgum bathroom was. And he reviewed 8,000 files on pardons. Yeah. Give me a freaking break. This is so shady, and it's just Washington D.C. It happens every day. That's the thing; it happens all the time. But with Trump in there, we're focusing on some of this stuff. Yeah. And every department is suspect, and you just can't get past it.
There he is. Had a chance to meet him a couple of years back. Good guy, like Burchett. Good guy. Trump says, "I am the captain now. I am the president now." All right. Speaking of Doge, it doesn't exist anymore, by the way. It did not work out the way. I think if we're honest about this, there were slight things that were caught but disrupted. But I will tell you, I don't think it worked out the way we wanted to see it all play out. Doge is no more. Doge shuts down with months left in its mandate. And that's the story that the New York Post had today. Yeah, they told where all these guys went and how they've kind of gone into different directions. And some of the mission is still underway. But did you see the cuts that you thought or maybe we wanted to see? And by the way, the deep state fighting back, I think this is obvious. So Doge is not done. I'll tell you why. And this article kind of talks about it, but I think what you're missing is the nuance of what Eric Daughtry posted the other day. He said, the Doge is not done. As the fake news wants MAGA to believe, the leadership has been decentralized, and this is kind of what has to happen, across multiple offices, and Doge is still terminating billions in contracts. In fact, this project wasn't going to last past October in the current state, the way things were. In fact, you want to know what Doge is doing right now? Just yesterday, they announced up to $1.9 billion in contract cancellations. They announced over the last 9 days, agencies terminated and de-scoped 78 wasteful contracts with a ceiling value of $1.9 billion and a savings of $335 million. So you're going to hear a lot of headlines about that, but Doge is happening. It's just not happening necessarily in the way and the thought we thought it would, which actually makes it easier for them to get the job done and harder for the left and the deep state to target.
Known as Doge, reportedly ending its work 8 months ahead of schedule. OPM Director Scott Cooper clarifying its functions will be absorbed by the Office of Personnel Management, saying, quote, "The truth is Doge may not have centralized leadership, but the principles of Doge remain alive and well." Back in October, Doge estimated it saved a total of $214 billion since the start of its push to eliminate government fraud, waste, and abuse.
That they got a lot more cutting to do. They got a lot more cutting to do. I'd like to see a lot more of it. I know you're on the same page too. Especially this. It's not just the cutting, but it's this scam stuff that they're pulling behind the scenes, this USAID and what was happening in Minnesota. It needs, this has to see the light of day. This has to see the light of day. And I got lots of questions over the weekend about Marjorie Taylor Greene and what has happened. We saw that the announcement come. Was it Thursday night that she was stepping down? And will be her last day in Congress will be January 5th, 2026. First of all, I hate to see it. I like MTG. I think she did a fantastic job over the last several. Now, there's a lot of questions about how much her net worth is now and all of these things, which I'm not going to get into any of that. I will say there's interesting points that people making. You get into Congress and you start making money. Well, she does have a book too. Now, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I will say that the president, they had this back and forth. The president has come out and said some things. In fact, I want to say this was Saturday. Look at good. Look at how he's. I mean, this is looking good here. Look at what he says about MTG after the announcement.
Are you willing to forgive Congresswoman Taylor Greene? Forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history. Just stupid person named Massey. And
I like Massey too. And I got to tell you, I watched this stuff and I've heard people have asked me, do you think this stuff is real? And I can't tell you because I've seen things with Massey, seen things with Green here, and I've seen things with Elon. and these kind of feuds that are happening. I've seen things that indicate there might be more happening behind the scenes than we really understand. And I don't know how to put that into terms of perspective with any actual evidence or indication of proof. I can't give you proof, but I can just tell you my gut when I look at it. I think there's something more happening. I don't know. That could also be cope. That could just be our massive cope, that we think that as these things are happening, there's chaos unfolding. Oh, gosh, this can't be real. There has to be more organization. There has to be more happening. That's got to be the thing to explain it all. It could just be that these people are human and they have disagreements with each other. And you heard the president say he likes MTG. This after he called her a traitor on social media. Then your other question is he really doing that, or is there somebody else tweeting or posting for him? It's another good question. I don't know. But I will tell you what I think, and some of the stories are the concepts on this, theories, as it were, that I think get kind of interesting. I'll talk about that in a second. More from the president.
I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived a primary. But I think she's a nice person.
I don't know if that's true either. I don't know that she would have survived the primary or not. I don't necessarily think that's true. The president's support, I definitely think, can be helpful. In some places, in some cases, maybe not. Now you say, what do you mean by that? Well, as running for Congress in Georgia, I'm sure the president's endorsement would be helpful. Now, would it be helpful to primary her? Someone that Georgians probably like. I don't know. Let's say Marjorie Taylor Greene was going to run for office as a statewide office. Let's call it governor in Georgia. Would the president's endorsement help her there? Or would it hurt her? Just an exercise to walk through. Georgia's kind of purple. It's red, but it's got some blue areas, right? So would it help her or would it hurt her? And would it help her if she kind of was seen to be going her own separate way in the distance from Trump a little bit? If she were to run for governor. It's an interesting thought. I think Friday is when we got this news from her. I think it was Friday night. And some of it, in fact, if you want to go back, I'll put it up on the stack, but some of it is it's a pretty lengthy, I think it's like a 10-minute announcement that she made. And some of it, if you watch, she does sort of hint maybe at what she's going to do. So you can draw your own conclusions to some of this. In fact, some of the points in the cases she makes in her video, you probably will agree with a few of the things, maybe all of it. You may even say, I agree with all of it. But as I mentioned, making that decision to step down, she kind of painted this picture like they just didn't think there's anything else that she could do. And she wanted to sort of step away quietly so as not to cause a messy primary.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest, and the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass the plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster. But instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas, just sit. They all sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media, obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years, they actually do their own grocery shopping and know food costs too much, their rent has increasingly gone up and up, they have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house, they have been laid off after being forced to train their visa-holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid.
This, to me, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's, like I said, it's almost 11 minutes. To me, it sounds like she's gearing up for something. It sounds to me, because you don't just, if you're just going to disappear, you're going to go out and say, look, apparently I'm not meant to be here anymore. I'm going to go do something different. But she's giving a campaign speech. And by the way, the things she's talking about are really compelling. The things she's talking about are the meat and potatoes issues, the issues that are in are going to be front and center 2026 and beyond. Now, when is Georgia governor term up? Let's check and see if we can get an answer from Grok right here. Okay, the current Georgia governor, Brian Kemp, is serving a 4-year term that began on 2023, January 14th, and will end on 2027, January 11th. This follows Georgia's constitutional structure for gubernatorial term. So, the next election for the position is scheduled for November 3rd, 2026. Jessica says, it's like WWF fake wrestling. It kind of is. And I was reminded, somebody mentioned this to me this week, and I go, that's a good point. Remember with Elon was getting me hit from all sides. People were vandalizing these Teslas. The stock prices were dropping. All of this stuff was happening. And then all of a sudden, and by the way, he was ending the term of how long he could serve. And all of a sudden there's this fight with Elon and the president, and they're at odds. And then Elon, now you may not, or you may remember this. What did Elon do? What did Elon do when he stomped off and away to X? What did he post? I know this is going to take some time to think about this. Remember, some of you just had this come to mind right away, immediately. Elon went on X and he posted that the reason Trump wasn't going to release the Epstein files was because Trump was in the Epstein files. Do you remember that? Time to drop the really big bomb. How about this? And by the way, if you think about this, is really prophetic. Just look at what he says. Time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT, exclamation point. And then right underneath it, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Now, I don't know about you, but if real Donald Trump was in the Epstein files and he was a real creeper, like he's a real sick individual, like Elon is essentially alluding to in this, how could they ever end up back on good terms? He didn't say he was doing anything wrong. He just said he was in the files. Okay. This would probably make this a little more clear. If it's not caught on completely, or this would make it a little more clear. What happened immediately after Elon posted that? You remember? Democrats all of a sudden got really interested in the Epstein files. Really interested in the Epstein files. So, what I think is fascinating is that if you're following along here, you could make a case for it. You could make a case for it here that everything that happened with Elon was designed the way he was going to go out. Trump is anything, he's a master of the media. The way he was going to go out was sort of choreographed behind the scenes. There'd be this fight, then you'd call for the Epstein files release, etc. Then Democrats would get behind that request, and now all of a sudden they would demand it. Think about what just happened. We just went through this 40-some-odd day shutdown, and during the entire time, the Democrats said, well, Trump won't release the Epstein files. That's why we're on the shutdown. As soon as they opened the government back up, the Democrats, that is, what did Trump say? They say, well, we got the votes now to release the files. Trump goes, all right. Release the files. Let's see them. So he's got the Democrats clamoring to release the Epstein files, and all through this fight with Elon. There have been other fights too. And Massey is one that I think a very smart guy. I like him a lot. And you notice Trump didn't have anything bad to say about MTG when he just was asked about her the other day. So they had this massive fight, and it kind of was like a falling out. And then he says, she's not a bad person. She's a nice person. We just disagreed. And then I pulled my support, and she did what she did. And, So he saves face, she saves face, and she goes off to run for governor in Georgia. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it certainly appears that could be a possibility. Now, I've heard that discussed. And again, I'm going to tell you the other possibility is it's just all chaos. The whole thing's a mess. And this is just massive cope that we're all struggling with to try and make sense of it all. That could be it too. But I just want to point that out. I know I'm forgetting someone. We got Massey, we got Elon, we've got MTG as recently. It just seems like there's a lot more happening behind the scenes than what we really even realize. And so I don't know. I don't know whether or not it is some sort of planned scheme behind the scenes. I wouldn't necessarily rule that out. But the other piece is that it's possible that, again, like I said, this is all just sort of the MAGA Make America Great Again, or the America First sort of faction cracking because it's under attack. There is a possibility that that's the case as well. That would be the most horrific to me. Because the point is this. You've seen what this looks like. You see what happens. We're not talking about the same old, hey, if we don't elect Republicans, we're going to elect Democrats. And we basically, the only difference is we want smaller government. They want bigger government. That's not what we're dealing with now. We're dealing sort of with good versus evil in a lot of ways. We're dealing with capitalism versus communism, socialism. I mean, it's a major difference in the reality and also how the world sees everything, or how we see the world. And I don't know about you, but we're not on the same page, Democrats and Republicans. And some Republicans aren't on the same page with each other, and Democrats certainly aren't. There's a civil war happening inside of the Democrat Party as we speak. Anyway, that's all part of this. It is a shame. I would hope that wouldn't be the case, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. I know that there are people that have their perspectives on this, and everybody's got something to say here. I don't know if it's possible to know for certain, unless you're right there in the middle of it. So, again, for me, it's one of these situations where I sit back and watch it because I like MTG. I like Thomas Massey. I like Rand Paul. I like the president. And I want everybody to work together. But I also want people to realize if we don't, we're not talking about just like a little bit of difference here of opinion on things. We're talking about a massive flip. And as the pendulum swings, folks, I don't know if you've been watching this lately, but it's kind of like one of these pendulums swinging back and forth. Everything goes too far left and then it swings back right. We've got, think of it this way. We've got over here to the left, you got boys in girls' locker rooms. That's okay. That's not a problem. And you got it swinging back over the right, and the rejection of that from the parents to say, no, we're not going to do this anymore. You got people over here that are, godless, abortion on demand, all the way up and to past the moment of birth. And then they swing back, and you got the pro-life movement sort of coming into play. And this swinging back and forth on the pendulum, let's say you elect Trump in 2016, then Biden in 2020. Now, that's if that whole thing was legitimate. I have my questions about that anyway. I think it was rigged. So then Biden, it's just nasty what he does in the 4 years and how horrible it is and how hard it is for everyone. So the pendulum swings back again to the right, but this time maybe even further and faster. My question is, what happens next? And how far, in fact, does it go? How far and how fast does it go back to the left? And we're also looking at the Overton window. You've got sitting members of Congress telling people to disobey the orders of a president. It's all of this stuff. The further we go, the slippery slope, we slide a little bit further down and a little bit further down. And so the question is, who comes after Trump? Who comes after Trump? How about a sick story for you? Well, you just thought things were bad enough already, right? Wait a minute. I thought you might have some good news for us today. Yes, I'd probably pull something out of my hat here in a second. Hang on. First, let me show you this. This is actually, I think it's Channel 4 in Detroit. All the Maha folks, listen up.
A former Campbell Soup Company employee is taking legal action against the food giant, and he's making some explosive allegations about one of its top executives. Good evening, and thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Kimberly Gill. Those allegations are now at the center of a lawsuit claiming the company's vice president went on an hour-long tirade attacking the company's products and employees before taking aim at its customers.
And the former employee recorded it all. Eric Erickson shares that recording and what the company is saying about it.
We have shit for poor people. Who buys our shit?
And that's just part of an over an hour-long rant, says former security analyst for Campbell's, Robert Garza of Monroe.
I don't buy Campbell's products barely anymore. It's so healthy. Now that I know what the in it, even in a can of soup, I look at it, look at meat, bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer.
The recording allegedly of Campbell's VP and Chief Information Security Officer Martin Bally.
He has no filter.
Bally, along with another supervisor and Campbell Soup Company, named in a lawsuit filed Thursday. The suit claiming Bally made racist remarks, admits to coming to work high, and Garza fired for coming forward.
What do you think about the things that he was saying?
Oh, just pure disgust.
Garza says he usually worked remotely for Campbell's headquarters based in Camden, New Jersey. But thinking he'd be discussing his salary with Bally, he says the recording taken in person at a restaurant.
They couldn't think for themselves. I'm like, you dumb
Garza says he felt sick after the rant, deciding to go to his direct supervisor in January, keeping the recordings to himself.
He had never had any disciplinary action. They had never written him up for poor work performance.
Garza says no one at Campbell's ever followed up, and it's taken him 10 months to find a new job, calling the way the canned soup company handled it simply terrible.
They have a motto, like we treat you like family, here at Campbell's, come work for us, we treat our employees like family. That's not the case.
We did just receive a statement from Campbell's. It says, quote, if accurate, the comments in the recording are unacceptable. They do not reflect our values and the culture of our company. We are actively investigating this matter.
Hey, what about the bioengineered food?
Also reached out directly to Martin Bally.
This reporter's got the soup. Do you think she's going to take a bite? Wait.
Eric Erickson, Local 4.
Oh, no! Oh! I don't know that I would take a bite of that. Bioengineered chicken soup is what they're claiming. I don't know. I mean, what does that even mean? What are they like make it in a 3D printer or something like that? I don't know, man. This stuff these days. I mean, you look at this, you go, what the heck is happening? By the way, this was Home Depot. People that don't have jobs and probably all the time in the world on their hands, probably under some sort of Soros paid operation with some of these weirdos, and they're old too. And they're masked up. Look at this guy masked up inside the Home Depot.
What's his drummer?
That's what actually was out of position.
Hey, can I have everybody's attention, please? If you're purchasing something,
I have been volunteering with
we can come to this side. Come to this side for the customer to walk through. Not the same.
A couple of N95s in there too. These people are wacky. So they're protesting Home Depot. I guess about ice raids or something. I don't know the full. That's a great question. What exactly? Who knows what any of these people are protesting these days?
Still have like a good amount of days.
All right, so I'll stop it here. What these people are in line to do is buy ice scrapers. I don't know anybody that actually thinks that any of that makes a difference. I went and I bought an ice scraper at Home Depot. So that made my point, apparently. You can't make any of this make sense anymore. You can't, none of it. It's just a bunch of, mentally unstable at best, mentally ill at worst, just kind of completely off their rockers individuals going out and doing things like it's performative. This happened in Monrovia, California, a staged quote unquote buy-in protest. So here's what they were doing. They were buying 17-cent putty knives, branded symbolically as ice scrapers, and immediately returning them to clog Home Depot checkouts, demanding the retailer sever ties with immigration enforcement operations in its parking lots. The tactic targets Home Depot's role as a de facto hiring site for day laborers, where ICE has conducted raids drawing from broader 2025 surges in deportation actions. While the video captures protesters chanting purchases and displaying signs like "No ICE X," responses here predominantly view the disruption as an inefficient activism, sparking memes and suggestions for store countermeasures like restocking fees. Now that would be funny on that particular item. Yeah, we got a restocking fee. It's $3. Oh gosh, wouldn't that be funny? You actually owe us money, folks. Now, whether or not that's legal, they can actually do that or not. That's a whole nother thing. But I had to share it with you because I thought, oh my gosh, just another example of the insanity that's happening on the streets these days. All right, it's time. I went way over. That's a bunch of bonus today, probably because Thursday, Friday, again, off for Turkey Day on Thursday. Being ever so grateful. Counting our blessings and celebrating them. And then also on Friday, filling in for the Glenn Beck program. Now, I told the folks on Locals, VIPs, I may stream for the VIPs on Friday, a little bit of the behind the scenes with Beck. I can't do a normal stream because I don't own the content, right? Since it's just a different situation. But just to let you know, if you want to join us, chances are you could do that. VIPs, just $7 a month. The time to lock in and do it now. JustinBarkley.com/VIP to get joined today. Make it a great one, folks. Back with you tomorrow. God bless. All right.